What's up guys, it's your bro Richie Rich here. Today in this video I'm back with another car explanation video for y'all, and today I'll be talking to y'all about a car that I've never talked about before, but I figured I'll give it a try. Today I'll be talking to y'all about the Mercury Comet. So without any further ado, let's get started. So first off is overview. As always, let's do it. So manufacturers by Mercury and Ford. So Mercury and Ford. So overviews first, so let's do it. So manufacturer is obviously by Mercury and Ford. Also called the Comet. Uh, Production for the Comet was from 1960 to 61, and for the Mercury Comet was from 1962 to 77. Assemblies were at the Oakville assembly so its assembly locations were at Oakville, Ontario, Canada. So the first one's Canadian, whereas there's five of them, whereas the other four are from the States. So we got Oakville, Ontario, Canada, Clay Como, Missouri, Lorain, Ohio, Milpitas, California, and Wayne, Michigan. Body and chassis next. The class, two types there are. There's a compact for 60, 65, and 71. So 60, 65, and 71, 77. And then mid-size, 66, 69. Layout is front motor, rear wheel drive. It's related to these five vehicles. The first four are Fords, whereas the other one is a Mercury. So we got the Ford Fairlane. So we got the Ford Fairlane, Falcon. So Fairlane, Falcon, Maverick, and Torino. Then we got the Mercury Montego. Chronology is next. The successor was these two Mercuries, the Zephyr and Monarch. Moving on, so the Comet's an automobile. So it's a car that's produced by Mercury from 62 to 69. So 62 to 69 and 71 to 77. Variously is either a compact or an intermediate car. For 1960 and 61, Comet was its own brand, Lincoln Mercury Comet. The compact Comet shared a uh, naming convention associated with the ongoing space race of the early 60s, with the Mercury Meteor, which was introduced as the base trim of full size Mercury sedan. The Comet's initially based the Comet's initially based on the compact version of the Ford Falcon, then on the intermediate Ford Fairlane, and finally on the compact version of the Ford Maverick. Early Comets received than better grade interior trim than concurrent Falcons, and a slightly longer wheelbase. Next, history. From 60 to 65, the Comet was based on the Ford Falcon platform, stretched 5 inches for sedans, but not for station wagons. The 60-63 Comets share a similar basic shape. So they share a similar basic shape. Um, they're sometimes referred to as the round body comets. For 62 and 63, the comet shared a considerable number of both body and mechanical parts, with the short-lived Fairlane-based Mercury Meteor intermediate. The comet names trademarked to Cotner Bevington as the Comet Coach Company, or CCC, or just Triple C. So Comet Coach Company. Comet Coach Company. Building both ambulance and hearse commercial vehicles. There we go, a little bit better point of view. So, building both ambulance and hearse commercial vehicles. Ford, usually they're called funeral cars or funeral coaches. So yeah, so building ambulance and uh, funeral cars, or funeral coach commercial vehicles. Ford bought the name in 1959, the end of the 50s before the start of the very early 1960s. Now we got the relationship with Edsel. The Comets originally planned as an Edsel model, EVSEL model. Ford announced the end of the Edsel program. So Ford announced the end of the Edsel program on November 19th, 1959. So Edsel was a division and brand of automobiles that was produced by the FMC in the 58 to 60 model years. So, where is that? So relationship with Edsel. So the Comets originally planned uh, as an Edsel model. Ford announced the end. So the Comets originally planned as an Edsel model. Ford announced the end of the Edsel program on November 19th, 1959. The end of the 50s before the start of the very early 1960s. However, production of 1960 Edsels continued until late no. Production of 1960 Edsels continued until late November. The Comets reassigned to the Lincoln Mercury division. So Lincoln Mercury division to sell at Mercury Comet dealerships, where it's marketed as a standalone product for 1960 and 1961 as the Comet without any Mercury divisional badging. Door VIN tags read made in USA by Comet. Develop Made in USA by Comet. Developed concurrently with the Ford Falcon. So developed concurrently with the Falcon. Pre-production pre-production photographs of the sedan show a car remarkably they show so developed concurrently with the Falcon. Early pre-production photographs of the sedan show a car remarkably close to the Comet that emerged, but with a split grille following the pattern established by Edsel models. Early Ford styling mules for the station wagon model carried the Edsel name as well. Um, at their debut, the split grille was replaced by one more. So at their debut, the split grille was at their debut the split grille was replaced. So at their debut, the split grille was replaced by one more in keeping with Mercury's design themes. So keeping with Mercury's design themes, but the canted uh, but the canted elliptical taillights first seen on the Edsel prototype were both used and carried the E for Edsel part number on them, while the short-lived 1960 Edsels used elliptical shaped taillights. The lenses used on both cars differed in both length and width. Certain other parts from the 59 Edsel parts bin, including the parking lights and dashboard knobs, were used on the first year Comet. Keys from both the 60 61 Comets were shaped like Edsel keys. So shaped like Edsel keys, with the center bar of the E removed to form a C. Next we got is the Gen 1 from 1960 to 1963. Um, so all right, so overview. It's also called a Comet. The production for the Comet was from 60 to 61. For the Mercury version of the Comet was from 62 to 63. So the original Comet 60 to 61, Mercury version 62 to 63. Body and chassis next. For the body style, we got a two-door hardtop and sedan. Then we got a four-door sedan, station wagon. Then we got a two-door station wagon and convertible. It's related to the Ford Falcon and the Ford Falcon and Frontenac, which is Ford of Canada. So Ford of Canada. So in 1960, Ford Canada introduced the Frontenac to give Mercury Meteor dealers a compact vehicle to sell. Because it was a separate marque like Lincoln was to Ford, production for the 60 model year only. The Frontenac's essentially a 1960 Ford Falcon with its own unique grille, taillights, and external trim, including red maple leaf insignia. It was the second best-selling compact in Canada during its 1 year production. 5% of Ford's total Canadian output. So I didn't know that actually about this. I have no idea about that. Anyways, so it's related. It's related to both the Ford Falcon and Frontenac. Powertrain is next. So for the motor, we got two inline sixes and then a V8. So for the inline sixes, we got a 2.4 liter 144 thrift power. So 2.4 liter 144 thrift power, 2.8 liter 170 thrift power, and then we got the mighty 4.3 liter 260 Challenger. It's 260 Challenger V8, not named after Dodge, but just the actual engine name. So 4.3 liter 260 Challenger V8. So it was a V8. Transmissions, we got a 2-speed auto and then a 3-speed, 4-speed manual. So we got a 2-speed auto and a 3-speed 4-speed manual. Out of those three, I just picked the 4-speed manual. It's just much better. Dimensions is next. Wheelbase, it's between 2781 millimeters to 2896 millimeters, 109.5 to 114 inches. So that is a difference between at least 115 millimeters around there. Wait, yeah, 115 millimeters. Of 4.5 inches. Reason being is because the coupe and sedan are slightly longer than the wagon version of the wheelbase. Length 4940 millimeters, 194.5 inches in length. So 4940 millimeters. So 4940 millimeters. So 4940 millimeters. 194.5 inches in length, width 1788 millimeters. So 1788 millimeters, 70.4 inches in width, height 1384 millimeters, 1384 millimeters out. 1384 millimeters, 54.5 inches in height. The only one that's missing is the curb weight, so we don't know what it is. I don't know what it is either, but oh well. Moving on, so we're on a Gen 1 from 60 to 63. So the Comets initially released without any diversional badging. Only Comet badges, similar to the Valiant, which didn't have Plymouth badging at first. It was sold through Lincoln Mercury Comet dealerships, but wasn't branded as a Mercury Comet. So it wasn't branded as a Mercury Comet until the 62 model year. This was similar to Ford's treatment of both the Meteor and Frontenac of Canada, sold through Meteor Mercury Frontenac dealers. Introduced in March 1960, started the very early 1960s actually. Initial body styles were both 2- and 4-door sedans. and also two and four door station, and also two and four door station wagons as well. Two trim levels were available, both standard and custom, with the latter including badging, additional chrome trim, and all vinyl interiors. In 1960, the only motor available was the 2.4 liter 144 thrift power inline six with a single barrel Holly carburetor. So Holly carburetor, which produced at 4,200 RPM, just 90 horsepower, so less than 100 horsepower technically. Some sources list it as producing at the same RPM just 85 horsepower. Gearbox options were a column shifted 3-speed manual and a 2-speed Comet drive automatic. Because usually for those classic cars, they would have the gearbox like automatic on the sides, like some other classic 60s, 70s vehicles. Sometimes it'll be on the center console, sometimes on the steering column. It depends on what car you go with and what year it is and all that kind of stuff. So gearbox options were a column shifted 3-speed manual and a 2-speed Comet drive auto. Ford had purchased the name Comet from Triple C Comet Coach Company, a pro car manufacturer, in which the term belonged to a line of funeral coaches, mainly Oldsmobiles. The coach company then was renamed. The coach company then was renamed Kotzner Bevington, Kotzner Bevington, so Kotzner Bevington. I'm just saying it again so that you guys understand. In Canada, for the 1960 model year, Meteor Mercury dealers sold a compact car called Mercury Meteor. So in Canada for the 60 model year, Meteor Mercury dealers sold a compact car called the Frontenac. Frontenac. Considered a marquee in its own right, it was a badge engineered version, of the Falcon, with only minor trim differences to distinguish it from the Falcon. The Frontenacs produced for only 1 year, just only a year, and that was pretty much it. The Comet was introduced to the Canadian market for the 61 model year and replaced the Frontenac as the compact offering by Meteor Mercury dealers. In response to complaints about the low performance of the 2.4 liter motor, a 2.8 liter thrift power inline six. So the 2.4 was a 144 motor, a 170. So it's a 2.8 liter thrift power inline six. Essentially the same motor, just a little bit bigger, from 2.4 to 2.8 liters. The thrift power inline six. So a 2.8 liter thrift power inline six with a single barrel Holley carburetor produced at 4,400 RPM, 101 horsepower. It's a little bit over 100 horsepower technically. It's just not bad during those times actually, but still, I mean, they could have done better, but oh well. So yeah, at 4,400 RPM, 101 horsepower was released for the 61 model year. A new four-speed manual. Was also an option. A Dagenham without the first gear synchro mesh. Without the synchro from the first gear. The changes to the Comet 19 to the 61 changes to the 61 Comet were minimal, changes to the 61 Comet were minimal, such as moving the Comet script from the front fender to the rear quarter, and a new grille design. The optional S22 packs released, available only on the two-door sedan. It's billed as a sport pack, although it shared the same mechanicals as regular Comets. With the only changes being S20, with the only changes being S22 badging, bucket bucket yeah, bucket seats, and a center console. Um, Comets officially made a Mercury model for the 62 model year, and it received some minor restyling, mainly a redesign of the trunk and taillight area to bring the car, so trunk and taillight area to bring the car more in line with the Mercury look. This is the first year the this is the first year the car carried Mercury badging. The S22 had six bullet shaped taillights. So the taillights just legit shaped like the actual bullets. Shame they don't shoot, but oh well. I don't know why I said that, but whatever. So the S22 had six bullet shaped taillights. Um, some of the classic 50s cars would really have bullet shaped taillights. Some old 50s Cadillacs would kind of had. Some classic convertible ones would have on the rear bullet shaped taillights. Anyways, the S22 had six bullet shaped taillights with regular comets. The S22 had six bullet shaped taillights, while regular comets had four oval with two optional flat reverse lights. A Comet Villager station wagon. So a Comet Villager station wagon. Um, based basically a Comet custom, four door station wagon with simulated wood grain side panels was added to the lineup. The villager name had previously been used to denote the four door steel sided station wagon in the Edsel Ranger series. The Comet Drive Auto, so automatic gearbox, was renamed Merc-O-Matic, unique to the Comet. Despite sharing a name with the Merc-O-Matic, sounds like a gearbox from Mercedes or something. I don't know. So Merc-O-Matic installed in larger Mercuries. While the 63 model looked almost identical to the earlier models, both the chassis and suspension were redesigned to accommodate an optional 4.6, I think. Was it 4.6, 4.7? So 4.6, 4.7 liter 260 CID V8 motor borrowed from the Falcon, using a two-barrel carburetor and producing 164 horsepower. Two new body styles, both convertible and hardtop, which is pillarless coupe models, were added to the Comet Custom and Comet S22 lines this year. Well, from that year, at that point in time, the front ends of these comets differed from their Falcon counterparts. In Falcon counterparts, in that they had four headlights instead of two. Two Four headlights instead of two. Similar situations resurfaced in the late 70s with the Ford Thunderbird, Mercury Cougar, and the Ford Fairmont Mercury Zephyr. Okay, so alright, so for my next video will be about the Gen 2 Mercury Mercury Comet. So the Gen 2 from 1964 to 1965. So yeah, the Gen 2. I think the 260 is 4.3 liter V8? I don't know. I'm gonna take a look actually. I think it's 4.3. Oh, 4.261 liter. Well, technically 4.3 liters, but still, yeah. All right. So for my next Mercury Comet video will be about the Gen 2 Mercury Comet from Gen 2 from 1964. So 1964 to 1965. So that'll be it. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.